we're acknowledging we're victims, and you're acknowledging that you're victimizing us when you use the word. So that's what it is.
All right, I can roll with that one. That makes a little bit more sense. Dusty, go ahead, Doc.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Kanye West and his recent headlines?
Yeah, Kanye West, and I've spoken about him a lot. You know, some people are trying to chop it up to bipolar issues. My thing is him hanging around a lot of these alt-right radical people. I really have a problem with that. I don't think that has anything to do with a bipolar mindset. That's something you hanging with these guys who have a very low view of Black people. You're hanging with these people, low key, you must feel the same way to a certain degree if you're hanging out with that crowd. So I'm really trying to understand what Kanye's angle is at this point.
Same here.
Yeah.
What the end game is going to be.
Right. But unfortunately, he's shooting himself in the foot, just kind of saying reckless stuff. When you're in a position that he's in, when you're in that billionaires club to a certain degree, you don't have to blurt out everything that pops in your mind, man. You got to really be tactful with the way you move. We got to learn as Black people how to be strategic, how to play real chess moves, and how to be tactful. What Kanye is doing is not no strategy. Some Black folks are like, well, he's doing a chess move. He's trying to get out of a contract. That's not a chess move. Shooting yourself in the foot to get out of a contract, that's not, and tainting your brand is not a chess move. So I don't know what Kanye's angle is right now, but I hope he's self-sabotaging because of some kind of subliminal insecurities that he has. So I hope he's going to be all right. I root for the best for Kanye.
Yeah. Before we go on, Lonzo, let me ask everyone, we have 1,000 people in the building. Please hit that like button. It really helps out the algorithm. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If this is your first time, you're tuned in to Not Without Alonzo, N.W.A. Stories with Alonzo Williams, the godfather of West Coast hip hop. If you don't know the name, do your Googles and go down that rabbit hole. Welcome to the show. If you like what you're hearing, please hit that subscribe button. And also, please follow my channel as well right here on YouTube, Dusty Vision TV. That's Dusty Vision TV. Go for it, Lonzo.
Tim, you threw me off there. Also, we started talking last week man, about your museum you're building. Is it a hip hop museum or what are you doing?
It's a Black History Museum. We're doing a Black History Museum, a hidden history, and we're going to have a section in there talking about the history of West Coast hip hop. Okay. Because that's never really dived into. We don't really dive into the real history of the West Coast hip hop gang, who was involved. And it's a very important history because the West Coast hip hop scene really gave birth to a lot of hip hop stations around the country. We had the first all hip hop station in LA, KDAY, as you know. The parties that we see now, those EDM parties with the lights and all that started with you guys in Uncle Jam's Army. You guys were doing parties where thousands of people were showing up. That started right here in Los Angeles. We have to put all of that in context and teach the world the game.
Right. And it's amazing, man. And here's something, TARIQ, this is where me and Charleston White come together and have a serious agreement. Before gangbanging became the national pastime here in LA, we were able to do that we were able to put thousands of kids. I was telling somebody the other day about my parties at the Queen Mary. I'd put 2,000 or 3,000 people at the Queen Mary and bring half of them back at the Eve After Dark, stuff the Eve After Dark till 6 o'clock in the morning, and nobody died. And in the late 80s, late 90s, when the gangbanging became the national pastime, everybody in the hood, you couldn't put 20 cats in the room without somebody dying. It just gotten worse. But meanwhile, everything that we did, other people are able to take advantage of and make a killing on it because they can put 5, 6, 7,000 people in the room, have a DJ, nothing but a DJ making $100,000 a show. Meanwhile, we can't get a room to have a repast in. So it's amazing how we laid the groundwork for so much, but don't get no credit for it.
Yeah. So that's why it's important to know the history and just to teach us this is what we've created and look at what other people have done with it and taken and flipped it and made it something positive. We could go back to that. When we get something positive going on, we don't have to sabotage it. We don't have to bring in some of that old dusty mentality that doesn't really work, just hating on cats and trying to sabotage them just for the sake of sabotaging them. And that's what started to happen at some of these parties, at the skating rinks, the jams you guys were having. It was just too many of these conflicts that were just non-constructive and just not needed. It was just some unusual nonsense happening that shouldn't have happened, and it messed the game up out here. We could have all been balling out here, and we could have taken control of a lot of stuff, and we could have had a lot of that stuff still going. And you know, at one point out here in California, man, especially in LA, you could even put concerts on out here in LA, especially a rap show. You did?
Right.
But not so bad. People would have to go out there to Orange County, Inland Empire, you understand? So it got that bad out here. And we had all of this talent out here, but all of the knucklehead stuff anticipated the progress of it. So we have to learn how to check the negativity so that we who try to do positive things in the community, we're not sabotaged.
Thank you, sir. Because one thing that's absolutely positively sure, we don't own the venues, we don't own the insurance companies. If they say that if they say we don't fly, we don't fly.
That's right. That's right.
You know, I remember one time as a young naive promoter, I called to try and book the forum for a rap event. I'm just calling to see what the possibilities was. And the normal price was one thing. I told her it was a rap show. She told me I had to have this, and this, and everything double security. And basically what they do is they get you out by overcharging you. You got to have so much security. Your insurance policy goes from maybe $1 million to $2 or $3 million. You can't get that. You can't get it. So they don't tell you no. They just price you out the range. By the time you get through, especially at that time, your ticket was going to be $100. But nobody paid $100 for tickets back in the 90s. That was a scalper's price. That was scalper's fees. Not a common practice.
Yes, indeed. Now, when you start doing, when you were doing doodles, when you started doing doodles, what year did you do doodles, Lonzo?
1985, 86.
Was Mr. Williams, Deucey Williams, still owning it then? Did he own the building?
When I got there, Mr. Williams was still there.
Okay. When did Mr. Williams die?
He died in 1989, I believe, because I was on the road. I left Doodles, went on the road for a while, and I came back, he had passed. So I think about 89, maybe 88, 89.
Yeah, now for those who don't know, and this is why we got to understand history, Mr. Williams was a business owner. He was papered up. I don't know where Mr. Williams got all the money. But,
I do.
But he was papered up. Oh, okay. But he was doing this thing in the 60s. I think, didn't he put out some of the Red Fox records, right?
Deucey Williams was one of the baddest cats around back in the 50s and the 60s. He wrote the song Earth Angel. That was his first hit. Okay. He got paid for it. Okay. And he took that Doodles was a helicopter factory. He took it, converted it to Doodles Music Center. He purposely put it where he put it because at the time when he built it, Compton was predominantly white with an all-white police force. And he built it that way on purpose because people from Washington, LA can come in. And it was on the tip of Compton, right past Centennial, on a few houses past Centennial. People can watch, LA can come in, see the hottest acts at that time, Bobby Blue Man, B.B. King, Etta James, whoever it was, Ike Tina Turner, and be out of LA before the cops can get to him. That's what he told me.
Okay.
That's what he told me. My uniqueness to the history game of West Coast entertainment is I have been trained and groomed by 2 or 3 of the baddest cats in the city, man. One of my influences was Lonnie Simmons from Total Experience Records. Never had a conversation with him in my life, but he was one of my heroes because I went to go see the Dramatics at the at Total Experience, and he got out of his white Rolls Royce and walked into his club, and the first thing I heard was the Gap Band for the first time. I'm like, damn, I thought that was the dopest shit in the world. I'm 19 years old. Then I met Jeffrey Harris, who was one of my dad's best friend, who gave me a shot at a nightclub at 22. And the only reason why I got there because him and my daddy was buddies. But he also was the kind of cat, when I paid my rent, I couldn't just pay my rent and walk out. I had to sit down and get a lesson. On money and all kind of shit. He wouldn't just let me pay my rent and walk out. Most of the time, those conversations were alcohol induced, but there was education. That was the education I couldn't get from USC, dude. Then
now,
I met
let me say the Total Experience. You know, they had that on Crenshaw, right?
Right.
No, it burned down.
Right.
And that lot where it burned down, I was going to buy that lot. That's where I was going to put the museum at first. I was going to buy that lot where the Total Experience burned down. And boy, they started giving us all types of runarounds and around that Lamert Park area. Every time we went to try to buy some of the spots there, they gave us every janky excuse in the book, man. they're actively not letting people buy some of that land back in Leimert Park. That's why we had to get our museum area over there in Jefferson Park. But go ahead, Lonzo.
Okay, and I'm just saying, man. When I met Jeff D and Dudos had a little beef. Most people don't know about it because Dudos would bring in the acts like Al Green and BB King or whatever, and back then tickets were like $4. Okay, $4 to see the hottest act at the time, and Jeff D would book him on Sunday for $2. And there was this. It wasn't a beef, but it was like, damn, man. You know, everybody benefited, but old man Ducey didn't like that, and Jeffy was, it was business. It wasn't nothing personal. It was just business. And when it was funny because when I met old man Ducey and I told him I worked for Jeffy, that gave me an in that I probably wouldn't have got if I came in there cold. You see what I'm saying? I had a reference. I told myself I worked with Jeffy for the last 4 or 5 years. I want to do so and so and so and so, and he gave me a shot, man. And I offered to sell me the building. I would have bought the building, man. I had the money. I had most of the money, but I didn't have the support from my crew because they wanted all their money. I would have had to put down $50,000 to buy it. He wanted $200,000 for it at that time, and the building was left to the Negro College Fund, and it went for $900,000. I was heartbroken.
Wow! Did you do those before Eve After Dark?
No, I did do Eve. I outgrew Eve and came to do those.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Actually, I was doing them both. I was doing both of them simultaneously. I would do those on Friday because I can only get those on Friday, and I would do Eve on Saturday until Jesse just pulled the plug completely. Those started off as an experiment because gangbanger got killed at Dudos. Dude named Tam from Pyru got killed at Dudos, and they had the stigma on it, and nobody wanted to go over there. But I have some special connections that most people didn't have. And that was I had a cousin that was on the Compton PD. He ran the security for the swap meet. So I was able to put together a team that old man, Mr. Williams, trusted. And that's how he let me in there. And then while I was doing Dudos, they opened up Skateland. And so when I moved out of Eve After Dark completely, I was doing Dudos on Friday and Skateland on Saturday.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, you out there grinding.
Yes, sir. It was the best grind I had all my life.
Yes, indeed. Those spots were really popping back in those days.
You know what? Because we stayed within ourselves. We stayed within ourselves as promoters, and that made a difference for me because all my people that I work for, and this is what I was saying earlier when I was talking about the other promoters. Jeffy owned that building. Ducey owned that building. So if we had a mishap, they understood what I was dealing with because they had them too. Yeah. So they weren't as quick to kick me out or cause me a problem or raise the rent because I had a fight or I had a misunderstanding. They knew that's what we do that sometimes, okay? You get enough fools in the building, somebody gonna show off, okay? As long as nobody got killed and there wasn't no melees or nobody got mauled, it was no big deal because, we kind of had a little tolerance for that kind of shit.
Now, Lonzo, I remember when Eazy and Dre were on, they did a mix show on K-Day. Right. Started doing. Were you guys doing the mix on K-Day too? Were you and Yellow and all of these other guys and clientele?
When we first started doing Dudos, Greg Mack first came to California. He and I went to lunch, and I just left the Eve, and I was just going to Dudos, and I was selling these underground mixes called Xerox, and Greg heard one, and he wanted one every day for the traffic jam. So Yella and Dre would do a mix every day. Greg would give us new records, new incoming records from K-Days, from the radio station, and every day they would do a new mix, and then in exchange for that mix, Greg would give us advertising for Dudos, and that's how we. It was the sweetest deal I ever had in my life.
Thank you, Dana, for the $20 donation. Shout out to The Real Dana. Follow her station, please. The Real Dana on YouTube. $20. Thank you.
We have 1,038 people in this call right now, folks.
Thank you, TARIQ. Thank you.
This is one of the biggest ones the biggest one we've ever had. Much love, folks. If it's your first time coming to the show, please like, share, and follow, folks. Please subscribe. I'd appreciate it. We're trying to get the channel up. Next week's show, I got a confirmation from Eazy E's bodyguard, Animal. If you watched the Mike Klein show a few weeks ago, he spoke about Animal. Animal was Eazy E's right-hand bodyguard. He'll be here next week, folks. I already got the confirmation, and he'll be here. So if you want to hear another hot show, check us out next Tuesday. Me and Dusty will be interviewing Animal, who was Eazy's main bodyguard, right next to Mike Klein.
Thank
you. Animal that
Samoan?
Big pardon?
Was Animal that big Samoan dude?
No, Animal was a brother. He had two big Samoans, John and Jake. They were Samoan dudes. Yeah,
okay. I remember those guys. Okay.
They don't do interviews. I can't find them nowhere. They say they're longshoremen down in Long Beach, but I haven't talked to them. But we were pretty tight as well. All his whole crew, and this is the part people forget. Many people don't know. When Eazy, after he made his money, he would still come to my house and hang out, and he bring these guys with him. That's why they know me. They come to my house and hang out with Eazy. I mean, Yellow was doing porno back in the studio, and this was the place to be. You know, you got a bunch of naked girls running around here, and I ain't gonna tell nobody I ain't saying what nobody did or what nobody didn't do, but it was fun to be around here back in the day, and these guys would come by and hang out.
Oh wow.